I do want to talk Shedeur Sanders here. He came for a visit yesterday. News broke. I mean, not to be that guy, but broke the news, and immediately everybody starts talking about, is it real? Is everything Adam Schefter saying about Shedeur Sanders coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers, or the Pittsburgh Steelers having interest in Shedeur Sanders, real? They don't go to Colorado's Pro Day, or at least Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan and them don't go to Colorado's Pro Day. So we're all thinking interest is very low. They don't meet at the combine. Maybe it's gone. Then he shows up in Pittsburgh this afternoon, and you're starting to think, well, maybe. What did you take away from Shedeur before we dive too heavy into other reports about it? What was your takeaway? Do you think they have interest in Shedeur Sanders?
I do. I do. I mean, listen, man, it's the same thing with Dart. To me, to Jackson Dart is, they're bringing these guys in so they're educated on this class. Like, they've literally, I think, gone through, if you go through like the Rolodex of the top quarterbacks, I don't think you can look at one outside of Cam Moore they haven't scouted or looked at. And Shedeur was like the last one. He was like, what happened there? And, I mean, I've even talked with people back at the combine. He did have a formal meeting with them. That wasn't talked about at the time, but Shedeur did have a formal with the Steelers at the combine. So there's 2 points of contact here. They scouted him heavily during the college football season as well. And so, I mean, there's interest in Shedeur. I don't think this doesn't like rocket Shedeur to like the most likely pick at 21. I think that's what people are doing now. They're like, yes, he's the pick. Just like they were when Jackson Dart visited last week. It was like, Dart is the pick. I don't think it does anything to do that, but I think it tells you, man, they are really considering a first-round quarterback. It's not like that's Looney Tunes. I think there's been a lot of people that have like shot that idea down. They've been like, they're not taking a first-round quarterback. Look at what happened in 2022. And I mean, the work they put into this quarterback class says that it's definitely a possibility. Doesn't mean it's going to be what happens, but they're definitely interested in Shedeur. It just depends on what they take away from the visit, how he kind of performs there, et cetera, et cetera. But there's points of contact with all these guys.
Yeah, I agree. I said the same thing. I didn't know about the NFL Combine meeting, that's big, to be honest with you. I had no idea that was the case. I looked at it the same way. Is there so much going on with all of these guys right now that it's hard to get a read on it from the outside of what Jackson Dart's actual potential is and what teams actually feel about him. Shedeur Sanders is the same way. And I think that everybody's got questions, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are just looking for answers. They're looking to make sure that in the first round, I think anybody's on the table, to be honest. Like, that's kind of what they're showing, is they have no idea who's going to be there at 21. They have no clue who's going to fall. I don't think any of us do. So they're just making sure they know everybody. And Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart included. Go ahead. I can tell you got thoughts.
So here's the interesting thing. I was looking over the list of visitors that they have so far. We have 25 of the 30 reported visitors. Mm-hmm. They brought in 2 first-round quarterbacks, a first-round running back, a first-round wide receiver, a first-round defensive lineman, a first-round edge rusher, a first-round safety, and a first-round cornerback.
Yes.
Yes. They are all over the map for the first round. And so I think you're right. I think, I'm sure in the next week or so, we're probably going to add, Kenneth Grant to that list, and maybe a Jahdae Barron or someone like that. We're just going to pepper the entire market. Maybe a Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, someone like that's going to get added. And you just don't know where they're going to go in the first round. It's crazy. This is the most open it's been in a long time, because this is a very unpredictable draft, Noah, just because there's not really a lot of bona fide first rounders. Like, it's going to be crazy. You're going to see guys that are probably predicted to go lower, go higher. Once you get outside of 15, it really becomes the Wild West. Who knows what happens, honestly, in this draft.
I agree. And that's exactly how I view this. Is if 21 shows, Mel Kiper's draft the other day had everybody. Literally anybody that we've talked about at the Steelers was available at 21 and went well beyond them. And I don't think that's a likely possibility. That draft was, take it as you will. But I think that's exactly what the Steelers are doing, is they're just looking at it going, well, we'll figure it out when we get there. When it comes to the quarterback position, I think they're doing a little bit of everything. Like, you bring in Jackson Dart, you bring in Shedeur Sanders. Again, there are questions about both of them. I looked at Shedeur and said the question about him is, you got to bring him to Pittsburgh because you have to understand if the outside noise is too loud for who he is as a player, and if everything else matches. Because I don't really get the like arrogant, brash reports that came out from the anonymous NFL executives. Like, maybe. I don't think Mike Tomlin looks at anybody as arrogant or brash. He's just like, yeah, I can handle that. That's no big deal. they need to understand more of that. I think with Jackson Dart, they need to somewhat convince themselves that he's a first-round talent and move him into that category. I agree with it. So let me ask the big question, because, well, Ian Rappaport gave it to us earlier. He said, quote, "I don't think that this is a message to Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers don't need to do that. But if it was, I would say the message is you are now on the clock, because the Steelers have been very patient with Rodgers. Free agency was 1,000 years ago. It was so freaking long." He just continued to go on like that. All right. On the clock with Aaron Rodgers. Did you take it as a message to Aaron Rodgers in any way? And at the same time, do you think there's a possibility, a world out there where the Steelers could end up with Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders? Because that's the question everybody wants answered.
I legitimately do not think Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers' draft moves quarterback have anything to do with each other. I'm completely serious with that. Look at what they did on the pro day circuit and who they visited with the Milrow, Howard, Ewers, Leonard, and then coming with Shuck, Dart, and Sanders. Guys, they're just straight up interested in drafting a quarterback. I don't think it would have mattered if Justin Fields or Sam Darnold had been here, because remember, the reason Fields and Darnold didn't sign with the Steelers, at least in part, was they wouldn't commit to them being the guy beyond this year. And I think that is showcasing something that is saying the draft is a significant part of what the Steelers want to do. Now, it doesn't mean first round pick, could mean a mid round pick, but the fact that the Steelers have not given anyone that light, saying we are going to give you 25 and 26, tells you something about how they view this. And so the Steelers can absolutely end up with Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders. I don't think that's a crazy thought at all. I don't think it's a crazy thought to think they could take Aaron Rodgers and then draft Will Howard or someone like that. I think all of that's in play. And so I don't think there's any message being sent to Aaron Rodgers. I think they made it pretty abundantly clear last week they don't care about the timeline for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't think Mike Tomlin could be any more nonchalant than he was. Noah, you and I were there. That guy was sitting back cool, smirking about it. He knows something. He knows something about this. I think, I very much have been of the belief that they are very confident in Aaron Rodgers signing. And I don't think that really anything with the draft is affected by Rodgers signing. It doesn't preclude them from doing anything, because I think when they sign him, it's going to be for a 1-year deal. So I don't think that they have anything to do with one another, to be quite honest with you.
I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, you got to look at Aaron Rodgers and say, even if they ended up with Shedeur Sanders, which, whatever, or Jackson Dart or anybody, I think outside of Cam Ward, which they have actually 0% chance of getting, Aaron Rodgers is the guy, the starter in 2025, and they want that to happen. Like, they're more than okay with ending up with the problem of too many quarterbacks that turn out to be quality options. They always want that problem. And I agree with you. I 100% believe that they know that he's coming and it's not changing anything. And they're just looking at it going, okay, maybe Shedeur does end up with us. Maybe Jackson Dart is the best player on the board. Maybe Tyler Shuck or Jalen Milrow could be there. Any of those names. I agree. Do you think the other way around, Shedeur can coexist with Aaron Rodgers?
I do. Listen, everything I've heard, everyone talks about Shedeur because Dion kind of, in the media, Dion is very, very vocal about Shedeur and even Travis Hunter. And everyone kind of projects that onto Shedeur. Shedeur's just really confident. Is he a little cocky? Maybe. But listen, every good quarterback believes they're God in some way. I'm not even kidding. They have this kind of complex, man, that they think that they are that guy. And so Shedeur just has that mentality. And this goes back to Mike Tomlin saying, I'd rather say woe than sick 'em. And I love that Tomlinism, because Shedeur's confidence is a big plus to me in terms of what he brings. I don't think he's brash. Everything I've heard from scouts and people that talk to him say that he's awesome. He's a high character kid. He does great on the whiteboard when they put him there. When he's watching film, he's a very smart player. So I don't think that there's any issue coexisting. And we've seen Aaron Rodgers coexist with a young quarterback before. He literally mentored Jordan Love. I mean, that is the other thing, is he's mentored a young quarterback before, and obviously that did end up becoming a really good thing, because you watch Jordan Love weekly. If you watch a Packers game, man, there's Rodgers tendencies in there. Like he taught Jordan Love some of the secret sauce that he does. And so I think anyone with Aaron Rodgers as a mentor for the Steelers, it's not a bad thing. Aaron Rodgers has showcased the ability to mentor their quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks, and I do think they'd be able to coexist with one another.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Aaron Rodgers signed 4.5 weeks ago at this point, everybody would be so excited to draft a quarterback and allow him to be that guy. I think obviously the drama that has unfolded since, has lessened that and kind of clogged everybody's memory of the Jordan Love situation. But I agree. I've heard great things about both sides. I'm not real into the brash or the arrogant stuff, especially in Pittsburgh. I think they'll be totally fine.